Who the hell are you?
Someone like you.
The time is upon us when all must choose which side we are on.
It's fast. Let them fight.
I'm sold. I want to see this fake movie. Let's go!
Hey there, I'm talking to you. Welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission is to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you, talking to you, can watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on the device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and it seems like you have a quiet confidence. I feel like you, I don't know, you hit show puberty or something. All of a sudden, you're a man. Like it's been a year of
Brian,
doing the show.
I don't like to brag about my puberty. Don't even like to discuss it. But we are 1 day away from the 1-year anniversary of the inception of Cordkillers.
I cannot believe it. You know what we should do is we should bring back our very first guest on Cordkillers and like have him back and make it like a 1 year, like, hey, look at what we've done thing.
There's no way he'll do it.
Hey, Justin Robert Young, what's going on, buddy?
Bah! Oh, good God. I've been summoned through sheer will. It's a Christmas miracle. Only through the wish of a child shall a bearded man appear on December.
The solstice really is true.
Dude, you guys have been jamming this thing for a year now, and yet the cord still exists. Answer these charges.
I know. We failed, Brian.
Well, I mean, that's the nice thing, right? Is like there'll always be little bits and pieces of, for every time we cut a cord, now there's 2 left to slay. And so we're just going to keep on recursively, cutting all the cords
Cords
until...
are really like the Hydra of our modern society.
Hail Hydra. That's what I say.
You're watching Netflix. You're thinking, I've cut the cord. I'm watching Netflix. And then your dish hopper jumps up and goes, Hail Hydra. You're still watching cable. Let's look at the primary target.
Sounds good.
So I don't know if you guys heard about this attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment. It's been kind of a quiet story.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a thing. I think I remember something like if you have a PlayStation or something.
To catch up the one person out there that's was a little drunk for the past 2 weeks, Sony Pictures Entertainment was attacked. A bunch of data was stolen. A lot of their hard drives were wiped out. It was pretty malicious, pretty vicious. And as time went on, the group claiming responsibility for the attack decided that they didn't want Sony to put out the interview. And so someone claiming to be that group sent a threatening letter saying, if you show the movie The Interview on December 25th, we will do all kinds of nasty things. Then they tried to imply certain things and make reference to September 11th. That caused theater owners to freak out. The main theater chains in the United States were given the option by Sony not to show the film if they felt it would be unsafe. All the major chains decided not to show the film. That left very few small and independent theaters out there showing it, and Sony decided that that wasn't enough to justify the release, so they canceled it. Now the big conversation has been about all kinds of things like who's responsible, whether it's North Korea, this or that. The FBI has said we think it's North Korea. However, a lot of people are saying Sony should release the movie anyway. Just do it online. Put it out as a torrent. Put it out on Crackle. Give it to Netflix. Sony lawyer David Boyce told Meet the Press on Sunday, Sony has been fighting to get this picture distributed. It will be distributed. That's a direct quote from Boyce. He said what Sony is trying to do is to get the picture out to the public, but at the same time to be sure the rights of its employees and the rights of the movie going public are going to be protected. I have my own way of parsing this, Brian. What do you think he means by that?
I'll tell you what, this is such an amazing Inkblot test. Like, you could take away from this whatever it is you want to see in it, because there's so many facets. My friend CJ, who runs a small independent entertainment company, said, on the one hand, I feel like they're a bunch of weenies for canceling it, but on the other hand, if somebody said, credible threat or not, hey, don't put on your game shows to go program at, Northwest College University, or we'll blow it up. It's like, well, I ain't going to do that. And then you have other people, you have the president saying that Sony are being weaklings here. Meanwhile, it's like Sony's like, sorry, Prez, I don't know if you know this, but we don't own any theaters. So it's not us canceling this. It's the fact that nobody wants to touch our movie now because of this threat. And then you have other people saying like, oh, is this an act of war? And then they're like, I don't know. Is Sony an American company? Because you got a bunch of American executives, but it's a Japanese company. So it's man, what a mess. I could spend forever just peeking through all of this trash here.
Well, and you've got places like small theater chains still today, like went to change.org and put a petition saying, we would like you to give us the movie. We will still show the movie. We are not afraid to show the movie. And Sony's kind of hamming and hawing because the real reason they won't distribute it is it cost them too much at this point. They won't make back their money. So they're still trying to figure out how to take the high ground, get the movie out there, and make as much money back as possible because they've got an insurance claim that they want to justify. They've got royalties that they're contracted to pay. Justin Robert Young, what do you think of this whole mess?
So, and you brought up one of the major things that I don't think has been talked about a lot. And let's just have a point of fact. This movie's not supposed to be out yet by the original plan. So let's all, I feel like we all need to hold our horses on calling Sony the worst people on earth or people who are backing down to terrorists until at least we pass when they said the movie was going to be out anyway, right? All we've heard is just kind of, there's no plans to release it. Maybe we're going to release it on Crackle, yada, yada, yada. But Tom, you pointed out something very important. No matter what, they have issues that we are not seeing. We are looking at this as a First Amendment issue, most of us, primarily.
Well, a freedom of expression issue, maybe not a First Amendment issue, but yeah.
Well, whatever. A free speech, you're setting a bad precedent. We are looking at this in a different rubric than this corporation whose job it is to get people to help them pay for movies and then release the movies and then do math on how much each person gets for having producer credit, points on the package, that kind of stuff. So it's like it is their fiduciary responsibility that could be litigated in a court of law if they show negligence to release it and make the most amount of money they believe they can on this. So I think all of this can be true, right? They can be setting a bad precedent. This can be North Korea. This cannot be North Korea. This can be the best or the worst thing ever. And independent cinemas can really want it while big ones don't. But I feel like we need to take a little bit of a step back on everything, except for what Brian said, where it's like, if the government is saying that this is North Korea, like, that to me, I feel like is a little bit of a different thing, because if they say that and they believe that, then that seems to be serious to me. That's not just hearsay. That's the government coming out and saying that this is something, which means that the government now is on the hook to react to whatever this threat is.
Wall Street Journal put out a theory. They said, well, if it's North Korea and the United States is convinced of that, why doesn't the United States government retaliate by buying the rights to the film and distributing it worldwide for free?
Oh my gosh. I would love that. I would love that. Except for I question whether or not our country has the gonads to objectively get. Plus, also, it's like, do we want state-sponsored satire? Like, is that what America is?
It brings up a whole lot of government intervention. But for the moment, let's say this. We all understand this is a one-off because it's a unique situation, right? Forgetting the like government buying a movie side of it, would that be the right response?
No, I guess it really wouldn't. again, it really muddles things that Sony is a Japanese company, because it's not like, if this was General Motors, I'm like, that's our boys, that's Detroit they're attacking when they do this. I don't know. And then on top of this, you also have the quirky, smaller stories. This is what's great about the fractal nature of this, is you have stories like the Alamo Drafthouse saying, like, fine, you don't want to give us the interview? We're going to run Team America World Police in that same slot. And then you've got Paramount turning around saying, like, no, you won't, psych, we won't let you. And then it's like, it's very difficult, because on the one hand, I understand the plight of anybody running an institution where they have had people making threats saying, we will come to your place of business and kill your customers if you do this. I mean, if somebody said, you're not going to do your Christmas special on Night Attack tonight, or because if you do, I'm going to come and kill you. It's like, I'm going to think twice. I'm going to say, like, hey, is it okay if we take a break this year, Justin?
It's all the context, right? Sony gets threatening emails all the time, and they don't pay any attention to them. But because of the context, because there has been an attack, an attack on the internal systems, the IT systems, that was successful, suddenly hearing a threat from a group claiming to be that same group, they decide to take seriously. And again, it's the theater owners who said, you know what? We've had really bad things happen in theaters. We have a lot of teenagers working in our theaters. We're going to have to explain to their parents why we opened and showed this movie if something bad happens. We're not going to risk it. Totally not worth it. Sony, very understandably, let the theaters off the hook on this one and didn't say, well, you've got a contract to run it, you got to run it. They said, yeah, extenuating circumstances, okay, we can probably recoup this on the insurance. But then the theater owners who didn't cancel suddenly are out of luck, because there aren't enough of them for Sony to be able to make their money back to send it out. And even if Sony says, you know what, forget the money, we're just going to put it out today, it's not as easy as that, right? Michael Linton can say, we want to put it out, but all the people who are supposed to make money off of that film will have an objection to that. So wait a minute, the majority of my pay was coming from a royalty cut here. You can't just give it away for free. You have the shareholders of Sony who are going to say, now hold on, were we getting the proper return? Is this, so there's a lot more to this than one person saying, I want to make a statement here. And then Michael Linton says, no Netflixes, no Hulus, nobody has come forth and said, we want to carry this. Could they put it on Crackle? They fund Crackle, they back Crackle, but Crackle would have to agree to it, and Crackle would have to be willing to take the onslaught of attacks on their system that would almost inevitably happen from some quarter.
Yeah, keep in mind, Neshcom in the chat points out a really good thing. He says, number one, all of this follows on real executed threats with the leaks beforehand, which is part of the ingenious and awful nature of this, is they put us all in a position. The discussion for the last week has been blaming the victim. Like, remember, Sony is the victim of this state-sponsored attack. And yet maybe all the discussion has been like, oh, I can't believe Sony caved and so on. But the reason that we are in this position is because they first embarrassed Sony. They made them look silly. They made them look petty. They released racially insensitive emails allegedly. I haven't read, but then so. By the time it got to the question of whether or not they're going to release the interview, the entire dialogue has shifted. It's masterful, evil PR that's happening.
Can I ask just this one question, though? If on Christmas Day, the interview is released on some sort of either video on demand or free streaming service like Crackle, how will we look at Sony?
I mean,
they'll be hailed as the victors, right?
No, well, it depends, though, because if they release it for free, they will no longer have a claim for insurance, because when you have a big project like this, you have acts of God, disaster things killing it. And so if they expect to file a claim, they have to say that, well, the project got killed because of these extenuating circumstances. And if they're busy releasing it for free, then the insurance companies will be like, doesn't look like
what if it's not for free?
Well, yeah, and I know that there's going to be there's always going to be extenuating circumstances, but right now I feel like we are all making a lot of judgments on Sony, and I kind of feel like they are all null and void if this thing comes out on Christmas Day when it was supposed to for free on the internet, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think it comes out for free.
And I don't know whether it does. I don't know whether it comes out for free. I don't know whether it comes out for $1. But, like, this is just such a tempest in a teapot kind of thing now, because this is all happening before they have even promised this was ever going to come out. Here's the other element of this with Crackle or anybody else that covers this. There are very credible, substantial security experts disagree with the findings of the FBI and say that this attack on Sony looks to at least be the work of people who knew the key infrastructure and vital passwords. So, Brian, as a stage magician, if you did a mind reading routine where you had done pre-work on somebody and you made the whole audience think that you could read their minds, and then looked at some random person in the audience and said, oh, no, read your mind next, you wouldn't really be able to do it. If this is the case with Sony and they go to some other site or Paramount, let the Alamo Drafthouse run Team America or any other thing, there is really, if you look at the evidence, there's not a ton of credible proof that a lot might befall them other than another group of people starting fresh on trying to attack their servers.
Yes, although it sounds to me, what was it? Man, this is a deep cut right here. Like, it makes me think of, weirdly, the ending to the movie Midnight Run with Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro. There's this moment, like, at a last-minute ditch, they decide to entrap the guy who's trying to hunt them down. And they just get some empty, blank floppy disks, and they're all like, "Well, if he takes the disk, but there's nothing on the disk." Like, it doesn't matter. We have him for trading money for the disk because he thinks that there's information on the disk. Like, in that regard, whether or not there is any threat is irrelevant. It is a fact that if Cinemark runs this movie, even if they knew, even if they personally are confident, it is likely damaging to their reputation that they would appear to be putting their minimum wage employees at the concession stands in danger for the sake of running this movie. It doesn't matter if there's anything on the discs or not. They are looking like they're acting reckless in the eyes of the public.
This is for the theaters.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Sergeant Muffin brings up something. He says, what if the Guardians of Peace, that's what the attacking group calls themselves, were to release the movie on Christmas themselves because they stole it?
I mean, I don't think that would help their position at all.
That would put the lie to the idea that they were state-sponsored by North Korea, because North Korea doesn't want this movie out. There's no joking about it with them. It's all very what if, but I am curious to see if this group, this organization, continues any moves or if they just evaporate. They have very similar attack methods to attacks that were carried out called Dark Soul on South Korean infrastructure, including banks, and also attacks on Saudi Aramco, which were by some attributed to Iran. However, neither of those attacks were officially attributed to anybody. The FBI saying that this attack was North Korea is the first time anyone has officially attributed an attack to North Korea.
Can I make what might be the most unpopular opinion about this as we wrap things up here?
Yeah.
There's nothing great about this happening. There's nothing great about the real hardships and embarrassments that are happening. There's nothing great about the lost millions of dollars for Sony and the bad press. There's nothing great about the escalation of rhetoric between the United States and North Korea, possibly, people saying things, as the great Justin Robert Young tweeted on Twitter the other day, hey, isn't this like an actual act of war? However, there is one thing that weirdly, like, we are seeing the beginning of a new age of warfare, and it's an age of warfare where we're fighting a war of words and embarrassment, not of chemical weapons and automatic rifles and nuclear bombs. If this is the new way wars are fought in the future, I am proud and thrilled that this is how wars will be fought, if that is the case. But I don't know. So
sadly, we
there's
usually
a bright
keep
side
the
to
old
it.
methods and just add the new ones, but I'd be totally with you on that.
Like, wouldn't it be great if they're like, oh, the great cyber war, so many embarrassing emails were released. My grandfather
there's
was
more
there.
damage to people with, if healthcare records get out and stuff like that. There could be some significant damage, but it certainly is less than blowing up people.
Yes.
I mean,
No doubt.
until people get blown up. Like, it's all...
Well, that's why I
yes,
said
great if
usually
it stops there.
the old ways of war don't go.
You know, who
away.
knows? And for the record, the act of war, because I tweeted that out and I had a lot of people, let me know because I was unaware that Sony is a Japanese company. And that's joking. But the act of war would be the threatening of American citizens, obliquely or not. If we were to say that, and granted, I know North Korea has done this in the past, but it has more.
It's still an act of war against Japan then. And Sony Pictures Entertainment is right down the road over there, almost entirely full of U.S. citizens as its employees. So the fact that the corporate structure has its headquarters in Japan in a multinational world, I think is less of a dismissive factor.
The theaters are owned largely by American companies, and most of them are not to the Epcot Center, where they employ people from different places around the world. It is just workaday average people. Like
yes, I mean at the end of the day, whether it was with the threat of a weapon or with the brute force of stealing passwords, at the end of the day, with force, an entity came in and stole money and stole property from from a largely
I would
American.
say destroyed and vandalized versus, I mean, stealing digital material is always a weird thing for me. That's probably a conversation for another time.
Well,
yeah, and I don't. I mean, like that is its own thing, right? And I think it's
telling you,
bad.
man.
It's the however obliquely saying that don't go to a theater in the interviews playing and think of 9/11 if you do. That is kind of a direct, physical threat problem, in my opinion.
All right. I feel like we could do a whole hour just on this, but I guess
much less deep things to talk about.
Yeah.
Including a new place.
Wait, hold on.
YouTubers
Wait a
to
minute.
Make money.
Well, can I get one more positive silver lining of this?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
The rumor is that Sony corporate structure is thinking about just hitting the eject button on the entire Sony Pictures infrastructure, which might mean them selling everything for parts, which might mean Spider-Man going to Marvel, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's a big stretch on the beginning premise, but I like where it ended up.
There's you know what? One more silver lining. If you listen to Harmontown, Dan Harmon was acutely aware that, in his words, I'm poorly quoting it, but he says, "Man, I'm good at emails, and I've been working for Sony for 6 years." And so, knowing
you're just hoping that the community email treasure trove.
Yes, exactly. The entire community fiasco.
You're just hoping for a better episode of Harmontown.
Yes, that's exactly
for the
right.
ultimate episode of Harmontown.
Exactly.
You know what I'm hoping for, Brian?
What's that?
This time of the year, with the season, I'm hoping that all 1,965 patrons of this show have an amazing time.
Man, I think you're living in the past, Tom, because if you hit refresh on that screen, you'll see that we have 1,966 patrons.
Welcome to the party, number 1,966.
Yeah, man. Look, over $2,000 per episode. You guys paying value for value, keeping us 100% independent. We are now 1 year into this experiment, and it's just getting better. Our guests are getting better, and we're almost learning how to talk.
Sometime talk good. More patron make talk better. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Thank you so much, guys. It makes a world of difference to us.
Let's take a look at Signals Intelligence. So Jason Kilar, you might call him Killer. He is the former Hulu CEO. He's the guy who launched Hulu. On December 17th, last week, he posted something to his new venture, Vessel. We've talked about it a couple of times on Cordkillers, trying to encourage creators to apply to become creators. So we learned a few more official details about Vessel. Vessel's going to be a video network where you can watch videos from lots of different people. Creators will give Vessel a 3-day exclusive on their shows. So if you want to see their shows first, you'll have to pay $3 a month to watch them. Creators will then get paid out of a pool of that subscription money. 60% of that subscription revenue will be split up amongst all the creators of the videos based on how popular their shows were. And then they'll also get 70% of any ad revenue because, like Hulu, even though you're paying a subscription, you'll still be seeing ads. And that 70% of ad revenue is actually quite a bit bigger than what YouTube shares out. YouTube only shares out 55% of ad revenue. They have apparently signed some YouTube stars, people like Shane Dawson, Ingrid Nilsson. They also have some Hollywood stars. Alec Baldwin's going to do a series on there as well. They've got some music deals with Warner Music and Time Inc. And there will be a free tier, but you won't get the early access to stuff. And it's not going live until next year. Brian, try to, from a viewer's point of view, is Vessel any more or less compelling at this point?
This is the problem. I think Vessel sounds great for content creators. It sounds great to Vessel. I think it sounds absolutely terrible to viewers. I see no benefit to this. I think that the problem is, Patreon, we're doing the same thing. We're doing a 3-day early start. You get spoiler in time 3 days early for being a patron, but we're doing it within an existing architecture, in an existing ecosystem with YouTube. The idea of going to some other environment and paying and still getting ads shoved in your face on top of it, I don't see any benefit whatsoever to viewers for this. I personally...
And we're also giving the exclusive regardless of the platform. If we want to change tomorrow and do a different platform, we can. What Vessel's saying is you have to be part of Vessel now. You have to lock in your content to only being available on Vessel for those 3 days. And then you have to convince your audience that they really want to see your stuff 3 days before it shows up in any other format. And so they should fork over $3 a month. Now, granted, $3 a month is not that much.
All right.
But it's $3 a month plus commercials. Justin, what do you think?
Plus, also, I'm going to guess I'm going
Brian.
to guess less features. I'm going to guess that you can't live stream on Vessel, or at least they certainly haven't mentioned any of that. That's already built into YouTube.
Right.
And the stars that they're showing are YouTube stars.
So Justin left. I look a lot like Justin, but I'm wearing a hoodie. My name is Ted Vessel. I'm the human incarnation of Vessel. Brian,
What's up, Ted?
I hear that you got yourself a very popular YouTube channel.
Sure. You're talking about Scam School. Looks like we're about to cross over 1 million subscribers. Very excited
Millions.
about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Mazel tov to you. I'm Ted Vessel. Here's the deal. Do you really, really understand why the kids are so into watching, that Swedish guy PewDiePie play games?
I
feel like you really understand that.
I assume it's because he's entertaining and he engages with them in a platform that speaks to their generation.
How about the Snapchat? Kids just love the Snapchat.
Yeah, that's a fact, Ted.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff that you might not understand about the kids. Kids are going to love Vessel. You are a content creator. How would you like a free pile of money for not really screwing with your deal with YouTube? You're just adding a little layer of money on top. Why not?
Dude, and again, this is why from the beginning, and this is why Tom said from the viewer's perspective, because you're right. From the content creator's perspective, this is a dream come true. It's like, how'd you like to triple dip? How'd you like to have new stream of revenue, ask to bring your audience over, get ads, and a chunk of a $3 a month fee just to do your thing? Like, of course, all the content creators are going to think this is a good idea. But also, none of the viewers will. I just don't see any viewers coming over to this.
So what if it's just a few of them, and you just get a little bit of money? Would that be worth it?
Probably not, actually, because the thing is, you only get to make a leap like this so many times as a content creator. And we talked about this before, this is the late 90s when I was working at Dell, and all the marketing managers were leaving to join startups that immediately failed within 2 years. And then they all deeply regretted leaving their sweet playground at Dell.
You've banished. Ted Vessel, I've been banished back to the nether realm.
Poor Jason Killar. He just lost his Ted Vessel. You know what? I'm not willing to say Vessel will flop. I think it's quite possible that Killar could pull this off because he's good at this. Like, he was able to make what was essentially a revenge dream by corporate executives at television shows turn into one of the most popular television streaming sites on the internet. So I'm not going to bet against him 100%. But there's going to need to be another posting coming after the first of the year explaining to me why, as a viewer, it's going to be so awesome for me to give you $3 a month to watch Vessel. And maybe it's enough to be like, hey, we've got the new Shane Dawson. We've got the new Rhett and Link. We've got the stuff before other people. And they have they have very large followings. And enough of those people are forking over $3. They're like, it's only $3. Everybody wins, right?
Dude,
but
all of Brian's points, and I agree with each and every one of them. And I agreed with each and every one of them when Hulu launched. Like, I thought Hulu was a dead in the water. Exactly what Tom said. A angry, red-faced, fist-shaking from content owners against YouTube that was doomed to fail. And it was far more of an expensive proposition than this is with the $3 per month, which in the grand scheme of things may not be a gigantic amount of money and is an interesting play into how low can we make a monthly subscription, and still have it be an economically viable situation on all elements, both the viewers and
this is
content
the
creators.
problem, is I think $3 is a mushy middle space. It's not zero, which is what everyone wants, and it provides not enough money to get you ahead. It's like I either want it to be $10 or zero. I don't see any place.
It will be zero. I mean, they do have a free tier.
yeah, free with advertising. You just don't get the early access.
Right. That's accurate. That's true. But I don't know, like to pay $3.
Listen, Brian, all I'm
teenager-
saying, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I'm saying Ted Vessel's got 2 feet. We've only heard one of his shoes hit the floor.
All right. We'll wait on the other shoe to drop.
Hey, I like that. Let's gear up. This is really interesting. 2 teenagers were part of a program sponsored by Virgin Media at Manchester Creative Studio and were commissioned to create their project called Kipster, Kipst capital R, a wristband that keeps track of your pulse, and when it thinks you've fallen asleep, sends a signal to your TiVo to pause the live playback and make sure to record the rest of the show you're watching.
Adorable.
UK Virgin Media is going to trial this in 2015.
Adorable. I hope this was worth the PR that it's going to get, because nobody will buy it and nobody will use it. And it is a elegant solution that will be handled seamlessly when Siri starts to know what time you fall asleep automatically on any, like 5 years from now, when you fall asleep, whether it's listening to an audiobook or a podcast or whatever, it will notice when you fall asleep and do all this crap automatically. It's all going to be built in at the
You're
software
saying
level.
that your wearable device will be able to do this. Well, you know what? And actually, I think The Verge mentioned that in their article, was like, we'd love to see this technology moved from a demo wristband into a smartwatch.
Yes. Well, and I guess that's what I'm saying is right now, this is the kludgiest, clunkiest implementation where it's like, are you going to put on a device just like, I'm going to sit down and watch some TV, might fall asleep. Let me, strap this on so that when I do fall asleep, it'll make sure to record it on my only TiVo branded DVR. No, nobody's going to do that.
I'm glad that if this is a problem that plagues your life so completely that you need to wear a wristband for it, you have narcolepsy, and you have a larger problem than what you're watching on your television. It is, I'm really glad.
Man. Apparently,
that we are
is
still
a very
giving
common thing. I'd be interested in hearing from the audience, but apparently, like especially at holidays, Dad has the remote and falls asleep while they're watching a program, and this would like pause it, save it for Dad, but allow the other people to change the channel. At least that's the pitch.
No, and it's not to say that it is not a problem. I just don't know if it's a wear a thing on my wrist all the time problem.
Boom.
Or remember to put a thing on whenever I do this action, just in case this other sub action happens kind of problem.
Well, let's look at the wristband as
I'm just
the
really, really
prototype
glad that
invention of this. Just saying like, yeah, we know nobody wants to wear a wristband, but we've got to test it out. So we're going to trial it with the wristband. But obviously, it'll eventually go into your watch or your Fitbit or whatever. Does that change anything?
Yes,
no, because
it does for me.
I'm with Brian. This is not the point of attack for this. You record everything past a certain time, and then you just let people know, like, all right, well, this is always going to be saved, and then it'll be deleted in 7 days. Congratulations. Now you've always safeguarded in case not only you go to sleep, but also you're late from coming back from a dinner for your favorite show.
I'll tell you what, that's the other thing too, is I can't wait for for Siri to just watch everything I do and just, me say like, what was I listening to the other night when I fell asleep? And she was like, oh, well, you got 47 minutes into this radio lab and then you fell asleep. I was like, oh, can you back it up 5 minutes beforehand? She's like, got it. Like that's so right around the corner.
But
I'm just
the
really
thing
glad
that allows Siri to do that could be Ryan Oliver and Jonathan Kingsley's software. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, but we all agree this is a need, and it's wonderful that they came up with some way to deal with it. Nobody will buy this particular device, however, and nobody will.
I'm just
use
really
it.
glad. No, you know who is going to buy it? The Sharper Image. They're going to buy 12 of them, and they'll never sell.
No,
them.
it sounds like what it is Virgin Media is going to sell it to their customers.
Good luck with that, Virgin.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, the entire contract was written in red ink for the profit loss statements that are coming.
How much of this is a thing right now because these Ryan and Jonathan are 15 and 14 years old?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Is like I guarantee you that not even Virgin has any expectation of selling these.
Virgin led the press release with when Dad falls asleep at Christmas watching TV. Like the teen thing was their second talking point. They're really pushing the at Christmas time, everybody in the UK, this happens. Well, get ready. We have a solution.
That's the problem with the gift market, right? Milton Friedman said that there's 3 ways to spend money or 4 ways to spend money. You can spend your money on yourself, in which case you'll get the maximum value and spend the least amount of money. You can spend other people's money on yourself, in which case you'll get the maximum value, but you don't really care about the maximum stuff you don't care about how much money is spent. Whatever. The point is, gift buying is the weirdest thing because you don't really care whether or not they like it, and you just want to spend as little as possible. So that's why electric razors are dominating advertisements right before Christmas.
Oh ho ho! Hey, you know what? There's one place I know we can go and get really good stuff.
It's gohomesanta.com, where you can see the amazing book and audiobook from one Justin Robert Young, including how many short stories about Santa?
That would be, I guess now 15 short stories or 12 short stories. I don't know. I forget.
It's got to be like a really expensive book, though, if it's got that many short stories.
Hell no. You can go ahead and get the combination audiobook and ebook right now for only $5.99. And that includes the 3 news stories, which, aren't a lot of news stories, but they are very, very long. How long, you ask? Well, the original audiobook last year was an hour and a half. This is 2.5 hours, a full new hour of Santa-related and Christmas-themed content from my weird brain. So go ahead and check it out. GoHomeSanta.com is where you can get the ebook, the audiobook, or the combination. Of course, both are completely unrestricted, and you can play or read them on any device you want.
All right, we're going to wait for you to do that. So go.
So you gonna take us on this? We'll.
And also the audiobook has music by Andrew Allen, which is great. And the cover art was done by Carter Johnson, daughter of Scott, and it's great and is better than the book itself.
All right, thank you for buying that. Now it's time for the front lines.
Oh, that was fast. Good job.
Front lines.
Just like Facebook users, Netflix for Android users can now privately share and receive Netflix recommendations from friends right on their phone. And kind of nifty, it's compatible with Android Wear, so your notifications can show up on a watch.
So is there not a universally shareable URL? Because I tried to tweet out the BoJack Horseman Christmas special, but then I realized that the only way the link that I would tweet was inside the subscription wall of Netflix, and so I couldn't, give a link to everyone directly on Twitter.
Correct.
All right. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Get on that, guys. All right. Well, Netflix, speaking of Netflix, Director of Corporate Communications and Technology Cliff Edwards told Tech Radar that offline viewing of Netflix was, quote, never going to happen, saying the option was a short-term fix for a bigger problem of Wi-Fi access and quality. I don't know if Wi-Fi is necessarily the technology, but if he means high-quality internet connectivity, I believe he's 100% right on this. I think that the whole idea of downloading local copies of stuff is going to sound ridiculous as once cloud access is truly ubiquitous.
The question is the timing on that, Brian? Like, when does that happen? Because right now, international flights and most domestic flights that I'm on, you don't have Wi-Fi that can stream your Netflix. So if you could save a local copy, then you'd be able to still watch Netflix. And YouTube just launched in certain areas of the world that don't have ubiquitous high-speed internet wireless coverage, the ability to save your YouTube videos so that people can watch them when they're places that they don't have the big internet connection that they have at home. So I think that problem's going to be around for a little while.
Well, and let's also be clear here. If negotiating, caching, or downloading rights were as easy as getting a cheeseburger at McDonald's, they do the deal. It's not. And therefore, they're going to wait for this to be solved by technology as opposed to them getting locked in to any kind of deals or losing leverage with these partners that they're constantly negotiating with.
Right on.
That's what I hear you.
There it is.
NBC launched a live stream of its broadcast programming available to cable and satellite subscribers. So, yeah, you got to log in. The web version is already up and running, and a mobile version is coming early next year. ABC offers a similar deal, and, of course, CBS does their $6 a month all-access package.
Isn't it weird? Like, I understand the need to authenticate through cable. We've talked about the fig leaf idea before, with AMC and a bunch of these other cable companies. But NBC is the national broadcast company that is king of broadcast television. I don't understand the need to authenticate with cable to get that, right?
It's almost as if all of these broadcasting networks don't feel like they make enough money off of free-to-air broadcasting, Brian.
Yeah, man. Somebody should put together a virtual company that retransmits their stuff and get that shut down on the Supreme Court.
That would be cool.
I wanted to hear you mumble for the other 10 seconds.
No, all right. Here, I'm gonna bank that time. Wednesday, Dish announced that Netflix was now available on the Hopper set-top box. Dish subscribers can launch Netflix from any channel by clicking the blue button on the Dish remote, selecting the Netflix icon, or finding the Netflix icon on the Hopper main menu. How useful? This is like everyone who has a Hopper suddenly has this ability, or
yeah, suddenly can subscribe to Netflix, and it's not bundled, so they can choose to do it or not.
I think that's good. I like that.
I'm just glad that there's a device with Netflix on it.
Finally, yeah. This is Netflix rearguard action, right? They're like, we're pretty much on every streaming box out there, so let's go hit the other boxes. The FCC slipped out an official notice of proposed rulemaking, and those who pay close attention say, you're going to have a net neutrality story, aren't you, Merritt? No. They're considering widening the definition of a multi-channel video programming distributor to include internet delivery alongside cable and satellite. We've talked about this before. The change would technically remove the requirement that an MVPD have transmission facilities, thus allowing the use of the internet as that distribution facility. All that means is that broadcasters would have to negotiate for carriage with anyone who wants to carry multiple channels of live TV.
So essentially nothing changes, right? Like when it says, we're going to force them to negotiate. I mean, that means all they have to do is walk in and say, $1 billion. No? Okay,
no,
get bent.
It has to be a reasonable rate. Like if they come in and do $1 billion, then the other side could take them to the FCC and complain like, they're not negotiating in good faith. You have to negotiate in good faith.
Yeah, but still.
Right now, like Discovery told that one network, no way, not at any price, not going to talk to you. Now they couldn't do that.
That's so weird. Like I guess it's okay. So what's changed is now that they're not allowed to say that. But it's like if you go into negotiations not wanting to do a thing, how often does that end up working out for the parties?
Well, again, there's a regulation on you that you have to negotiate in good faith. So you don't want to get dragged in front of the FCC. You're like, fine, let's come to an agreement. You just don't have the option to say no.
Justin?
Yeah.
Right on. Hulu. They struck deals with FX networks and ABC Disney to bring exclusive content to Hulu Plus. Hulu will be the exclusive home of all episodes of Resurrection and Mistresses and prior episodes of Devious Maids. Wow, all of those sound like porns. Subscribers will get exclusive access to full seasons of new series from FX Productions like Tyrant, The Strain, Married, and You're the Worst. All of these sound like porns. And future series Man Seeking Woman. Rest my case. The Comedians, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, Taboo and Baskets, and even M. Night's Wayward Pines.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So wait, hold on. These new fledgling shows are trying to spread themselves on as many different platforms as possible so as to gain any kind of audience share?
No. It's actually more like instead of Netflix getting them, Hulu outbid them.
It's so weird. I guess at least we're creeping up on...
Can we have a conversation?
Yeah, extension.
So at the end of the year, kids, this is how news cycles work. There's nothing to talk about because no one's doing anything. Thank God whoever hacked Sony. So there is anything to talk about in this period of time. Everyone's going on vacation. There's no news to be had. So we're talking about who picked up Taboo and Baskets.
Baskets is the Galifianakis vehicle. This is perfectly. We talk about Netflix picking up shows all the time, right? It's like, oh, Netflix got exclusive access to Breaking Bad. Netflix got exclusive access to this. This is basically the news here is that Hulu got the exclusive access to back catalogs for the first time.
Well, and this is why Vessel, I am convinced, will probably fail is because they are not going for exclusives. They are very much saying like, no, you keep doing your YouTube thing, but just also, invite them over to our clubhouse as well. And also tell them you're charging a cover charge over there.
Ted also thinks you're a jerk.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Ted.
DirecTV launched a Latino-oriented streaming service called Yaveo. 3 live channels, Ola TV, BN Sports, and Cine Sony Television, and 2,700 hours of on-demand programming for $8 a month. The on-demand content being supplied by Univision, MTV, Cine Sony Television, obviously, Carousel, TMN, Nick en Español, Canal Once, and a few others.
I would love to know the hard numbers on what kind of traffic they do because, we obviously have a very domestic-centric focus. But it's like, for all we know, this could be huger than, Netflix.
Well, this is domestic
minutes.
as well.
Well, yes, but international language, I guess, Spanish.
Well, it's a local language in my neighborhood.
Okay. Touche, sir.
No. I mean, what I think is interesting is Dish went to the Roku with their World service, right, and said, "Oh yeah, we'll go over the top with niche stuff, with Jade." They did a lot of international programming, and now DirecTV, like, yeah, we'll do this with Spanish language programming, although some of it's going to be English language programming too. It's just marketed towards Latinos. So it's definitely the testing the waters with, well, here's an audience that's underserved and it won't undermine our main product. So let's try it.
Fair enough.
Now let's see what's under surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
Now, we're definitely going to talk about this in spoiler in time, but Netflix just dropped in a surprise BoJack Horseman Christmas special on Netflix, which I found out about from Brian because I saw him like all excited about it on Twitter.
Yeah, you missed the part where BoJack Horseman himself actually tweeted me. Did you see that?
I did.
That
Actually.
was amazing. I know it's some some
that was
intern.
The first tweet I saw was you all caps like, "Oh my gosh, BoJack Horseman just tweeted me," and then I had to follow back in the thread.
We'll talk about that in Under Surveillance. I watched it. You watched it. Justin, did you finished BoJack Horseman, right?
I certainly did, and before this episode, I watched the Christmas special, and I think I'm trying to find out for sure, but I was delighted to see some of the voice talent in it.
Oh my God, yes. All right, we'll talk about it. Save it all for spoiler in time because I enjoyed one of the character names in the intro segment to.
Well, that was very.
Also, I watched all of Legend of Korra season 4 with the kids. We kind of did a 2-day bender, 5 episodes each day, and then bender. I see. I see what I did there. And I guess we could talk about that a little bit because there's some spoilery elements to it that were interesting. I watched another episode of Marco Polo, and this morning I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I watched Peaky Blinders, the first episode from that BBC original that's exclusively on Netflix in the U.S.
I've been meaning to watch that myself. I also watched the second episode of Marco Polo, BoJack Horseman Christmas special. Went to see The Hobbit, the battle to make a third movie out of a small book, and of course The Shield, which we'll talk about in spoiler in time. I guess neither of you guys went to see The Hobbit, huh?
No, I didn't even support my own team, but I'm glad you supported me, Tom. Thank you.
You know what was best about The Hobbit for me was sitting in these marvelously comfortable chairs that AMC installed at the Century City Theater in their Atmos theater that have a little they're like the AMC dine-in theater seats. Actually, they give you a little footstool. Yeah, you can lean back.
This is usually like a great sign when your favorite thing was the chair that you were sitting in. as you try to remember what's awesome about the movie.
It's kind of like the Iowa restaurant review of the Olive Garden where they talk about the decor.
All right, right on. So it was not good?
No, it was, in all seriousness, I'm being a little snide. This was maybe the best of the three Hobbit movies and had some excellent moments. My honest opinion is that it showed me, this is what I came out of the movie thinking, I get it now. Peter Jackson really wanted budget to make that battle scene huger than it was in the book. He really wanted to redo Return of the King battle type stuff. So he had to justify that with extra movie gross and split it into three movies.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited that the Hobbit movies are there. I've watched the previous two, and I'll eventually see the third one just because I'm glad that genre of fantasy action exists and nobody really does it like Peter Jackson. But remember a couple years ago when we were like, man, can you really split the Hobbit into three movies? And everybody listed all the problems with it. Everybody was right. Like IO9 said, man. Like,
listen, if he hadn't made the Lord of the Rings, I might feel entirely different. I might be bewildered by the Hobbit and how amazing it was. But it does still feel to me like he's trying to recapture the Lord of the Rings, and he succeeds at times. There's a scene with Galadriel in this third movie. I'm like, wow, that has that feeling. It just doesn't. It's not sustained.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, and it also, I think it just, Lord of the Rings succeeded because of their ability to know the source material and yet make hard decisions to make a better movie out of it. And there were certainly times in both the previous two movies, and I'm going to assume happens in the third, that they just don't hit that stride. There are just these little actions, these little moments that matter because they're in the book, but don't feel like they ring true in the movie. And also, holy crap, it's just a lot of time, man. It's a lot of time in the theater.
I mean, it's the same amount of time as Lord of the Rings. Just
1/3 is epic on there.
And that was a criticism of Lord of the Rings too, right? But that trilogy had to boogie and do a lot of stuff to make it worth it for you to be sitting in that theater for as long as you were.
All right, well.
Now, The Hobbit was up against Annie, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb this weekend. Let's check in on the winter movie draft to see how it did. It's your movie, Brian. How do you feel about 89 mil?
No, good on the Hobbit side, bad on the Annie side. I was hoping, I don't know if it's, I'm hoping these are because it's a limited release right now, but I'm guessing that's not the case. I guess Annie will probably end up hitting around maybe 40 million. Hobbit's gonna barely crack 215, I'd say. Which again, I had no chance if the interview came out. But now, per the rules of the movie draft, we got reports from Dan Dirks, the commissioner of the movie draft, with assigning a replacement movie. And because this is such an unprecedented last-minute change, unfortunately, not even Sony has another decent blockbuster to put in that slot. So I guess he's being awarded, is it Selma, Scott Johnson?
Which is already out. So he gets whatever grosses Selma has already made, which is not much. And you're really just hoping for it to have a continued run and maybe, something closer to like The Butler or.
But here's the thing, Brian. Let's say you get another one. What are you thinking? 120 more coming out of The Hobbit?
I mean, to be honest, I actually say my chances are better now than they ever have been. But even if I win with an asterisk because it's like.
Well, but if you
win at the help of North Korea,
you're 161 million behind Scott. can you get 161 million out of Annie and the Hobbit?
Yes, and those are my last movies.
Additional 161 million,
Absolutely,
not total.
absolutely. Those two movies definitely have 160 million juice. It might be a squeaker at the end, just like it was last year with Lincoln or the year before.
In which case, Selma could put him over the edge, right? And I actually, Justin has all of his bulk coming in the rest of the he has almost all the rest of the releases up until January 23rd.
This will be my most embarrassing performance in any movie draft, and I'm really excited for it to be done.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Scott could still win without the interview, which would be an even bigger victory.
It would be, yes. It would be, well, and similar to the I think it was 2 years ago when Justin won the winter draft, he won it like there was some talk because you got Ted, right? And it was like, he got a last minute substitution with Ted, but then it's like, even without Ted, you would have won. So this is the reverse of that, where it's like, by all rights, he should have another $60 million added to his title. Total, but he doesn't.
And that's the thing, and I am not bullish on Brian, on you hitting 160 million with those two. I think that the word is just kind of out on The Hobbit, and everybody went to go see it that was going to see it, and Annie is not the family smash that it was supposed to be, and this weekend is all going to be about Into the Woods. I feel like it's going to be bigger now that everyone let's just get all this crazy theaters blowing up because of North Korea talk out of our brains and get to...
Actually, I suspect you're right. And to be honest, I kind of want Scott to win because it would be like this, I don't know, awesome... I mean, he deserves it. He saw more coming from Interstellar than any of us did and paid what we thought was an outrageous amount for it. And he was 100% right, and we were 100% wrong.
Coming out on December 25th, The Gambler, American Sniper, Big Eyes, Into the Woods, Selma, and Unbroken. Selma already out in limited release, I guess. But yeah, so it's those are your Christmas Day competitors there, and I think you're right. Into the Woods probably gonna be the one everybody chooses to see. Although my father-in-law is not gonna want to see Into the Woods, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. I'm with Justin. Let's just get this draft over with. Congratulations,
right.
Scott.
Let's get to some dispatches from the front. I'll brew us up a cup of chamomile. Ken Shabby says, I think HBO will offer a 2-tier pricing structure, $25 per month plan and a $20 per month plan with a 12-month contract. They will do this to discourage people from signing up just to watch a season of a particular show. I would guess there's more overhead if a lot of people subscribe to watch Game of Thrones and then cancel. Then they resubscribe to watch True Detective and again cancel when that season is over. This type of behavior will happen a lot more with a streaming service, as I am sure it will be easier to cancel than trying to cancel from a cable company.
I would have laughed at this idea 2, 3, 4 years ago, but seeing the rise and popularity of Amazon Prime, like this idea of $99 once a year, and then you're covered for that whole year of streaming all you can eat. I don't like the idea of $20 or even $17.99 a month as a constant thing. But if you told me HBO Go for $99 a year, I would buy that in a heartbeat.
I'm with you, man. These prices may be wrong, and I think you're right that it won't be a $20 a month with a 12-month contract. It'll be a yearly price. There'll be a monthly price and a yearly price.
Yeah. Big Jim writes us, says, okay, as your boss, thought it'd be a good idea for us to have a little chat. You see, as I look at my Patreon, I've been your supervisor now for 368 days. You know what that means? It means several things. 1, I'm not a crappy boss because you're still here. 2, I need to give you more work. See number 1. 3, it's time for our annual employment performance review. Please see the attached sign and have it on my desk by close of business today. That's not happening, boss. And also, based on their scores, if budget allows it for 2015, there will be a merit increase for the cost of living allocation. Congratulations. Thank you for your service to the organization, and let's make 2015 a very successful year. God, I love everyone proudly telling us that they're our bosses. That's so great.
Thank you, Big Jim. You rock. John G said, hey guys, my wife and I just finished watching all the episodes of Marco Polo and we really enjoyed it. Well, much more than you guys did. We were really looking forward to your spoilers on Marco Polo. We agree with your initial critique of the first episode. Story gets really better after the third episode. What a disappointment that the Marco Polo segment of Spoiler and Zone was you actually did not even spoil anything. You guys became Schwood and Merritt at the movies and proceeded to thrash the heck out of Marco Polo, calling it a Netflix flop, no story. What bothered me was you actually formed your opinions not on one episode, but what you assumed the whole movie would be after only watching 45 minutes of a 500-minute movie. Wow, I could understand if you watched 5 or 6 eps and gave up on it. I just feel like you were very harsh on Marco Polo, especially since you spent so little time viewing it. In past eps, you guys would want to stop watching certain shows, but were told by the other to stick with it. You still might come to the same conclusions of Marco Polo, even if you had watched all episodes. Now, that's fair, but bashing an entire show based on one episode, you get the idea.
Yep.
He didn't like that we bashed Marco Polo based on just episode 1.
Well, but see, here's the question, though. If it was a weekly released show, then it would be appropriate for us to bash it on the first episode because we watched the pilot, didn't like it enough to tune in next week. However, because it's a Netflix thing that they release all at once, I think you might have a case that we only read the first chapter of the book and then set it all down. So I don't know if the rules are different.
Just let me hasten to add, both Brian and I watched episode 2 of Marco Polo now.
Yeah.
And so we will have further thoughts. And I don't know, I could be wrong. I like to think that, yes, we were bashing it, but I thought we were saying, like, based on what we've seen, we think X, Y, and Z. And certain shows, you can watch the first episode and still be intrigued and want to go further.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What's this guy's name again, Tom?
His name is John G.
John G. I don't like how the fact that you waited till only one episode of Cordkillers where they were talking about Marco Polo to make a harsh and rash judgment on how they were going to talk about Marco Polo. I can understand if you waited 5 or 6 episodes to judge how they were judging Marco Polo, but I think that you have been too hasty.
Very good. Well put, sir. We also got an email from Carlos saying, Black Mirror White Christmas. This feature-length special of Charlie Brooker's dark drama series stars Mad Men's John Hamm and consists of 3 interwoven stories in a mysterious and remote snowy outpost. Matt and Potter share a Christmas meal, swapping creepy tales of their earlier lives in the outside world. Matt is a charismatic American trying to bring the reserved, secretive Potter out of his shell, but both men are who they appeared. Both men who they appear to be. Blah 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 blah. Dude, this sounds awesome. Comes out. I guess it already came out in England.
It's already out on Channel 4.
And then, when will we get a hold of it?
I don't know. When it will legally arrive on our doorstep, Brian.
Man, a lot of people chiming in on my.
But I bet John Hamm's performance is going to be really compelling, and the twist will amaze you.
How do you know there's going to be a twist? What if the twist is
it's Black
a
Mirror,
straightforward
Brian. Of
narrative?
course there's going to be a twist.
Yeah,
right?
No, but the twist is there's no twist. The twist is they sit and watch the thing together.
Tom,
and
wait a
like,
minute. Tom, you're famous for just popping over to London to watch things. Did you happen to go to London, watch only this Christmas special, and then immediately come back?
All I'm saying, Justin, is pay attention to the decor in the early scenes. Would be my guess of what you should do, because Black Mirror very often likes to do those detail-oriented things. It's really good. Hey, Scott from Houston wrote in and said, last summer I wrote in to share my experiences of reading Game of Thrones books after having seen the show. After finishing the last book and getting depressed when searching for info on book 6, I decided to rewatch the series. Now, my wife had never expressed any interest in the show and had repeatedly told me it wasn't the type of genre she likes. I convinced her to at least watch the first episode with me and told her that she could go back to her other shows afterward. When the credits rolled on that first episode, she grabbed the remote and immediately started episode 2, and now she makes me call her Khaleesi. I thoroughly enjoyed the rewatch. The scenes have so much more meaning to me, and I knew who everyone was and where everyone came from. Sharing it with my wife, I immediately became that guy, the one who would pause the show every 10 minutes to fill her in on people who were there and their backstory. I also took great pleasure in seeing her reaction to the big series moments. Now we both anxiously await the next season, and it'll definitely be a show that's been added to the Don't Commit TV adultery list.
Congratulations. Welcome to the club, Scott. And it's not entirely clear whether or not he did read it. That's what's crazy is everybody who watches Game of Thrones, who's read the books, gets to have that experience right through their first view of knowing all the backstory and even knowing what's coming up. Whereas it occurred to me from this letter that there's probably something to the experience of watching it a second time, because now as a television watcher, you're able to experience what the book readers have already experienced. And you could be that guy.
It's kind of the best of both worlds, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because
Well,
you don't
it's
have
also
to,
like it really is a testament to how amazing companions the two are, right? Which is so rare for something to go as many seasons as the television show has gone and not deviate significantly from the source material like is so often the case.
Yep, agreed. All right, man. By the way, if you guys want to send in your emails, hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com. I do read every single one of those, and if I don't write you back, it's because I put you in the dock, and I expect to get to you. But then if we don't get to you, then please don't be mad.
Thank you, everybody, for an amazing year one of Cordkillers. Excited about year two. Justin Robert Young, thank you for bookending it. Starting off with the beta episode in December last year and finishing up right. You are awesome.
Well, thank you, sir. I this show is very important to me, and I know it is a sentiment echoed by so many people who watch and listen to it. And this year was largely significant because of shows like this and Daily Tech News Show for personal and professional reasons. So it is always a joy to be able to be part of it.
Twitter.com/Justin R. Young. GoHomeSanta.com.
That's it.
Do it all, people.
Yeah.
And we're available usually on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Cordkillers.com is our website. We'll see you later.
Love you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.